Hello everyone. The project that I'm working on today and continuing to work on is this family photo. The goal here is to figure out who the people are in this picture. My grandmother told me this was my great-grandfather, Herman Miller Madsen, and I believe this is Christopher and Laura Madsen, his parents. I don't know that absolutely for sure, but I'm pretty sure. What I don't know is who this guy is. And so I'm trying to figure that out. And so if you watch the previous episode, I started working through discovering some information about this. So this family, with the exception of Herman, this family was born in Denmark. And they immigrated to the United States in the latter half of the 1800s, depending on who it is. Christopher Madsen, Laura Wolbol, and question mark. I'm pretty sure that's who these are. And this image was taken about 1887-ish, knowing that Christopher Madsen here appears to be, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, and he was born in 1880. So that gives you some idea. This house still exists today in Laramie, Wyoming, although it looks completely different. And it was built by Christopher Madsen. All right, so enough of that. What I had done in the previous episode was I created a research plan. And so the research plan started out simple with a couple questions. And we did some research directory on Madsens. We found 4 city directories in Laramie, Wyoming with Herman and Christopher Madsen in them. And so I've added those to the research notes. Okay, so as I'm beginning to do this research, I'm going, okay, well, I want to research the brothers of Laura because I suspect that the person in that image, that's Christopher and Laura, I grabbed the wrong image. I believe this person over here is possibly a brother to either Christopher or Laura. So sometimes we have to go sideways in order to figure things out. But I'm getting ready to ship this image off to a cousin who is in the family, and I want this image. I have the actual image and the actual frame from the 1800s. I want it to stay in the Madsen family. So I'm going to be shipping this off soon, but I'm trying to get the research done, I guess, so that I can send information with the photograph when I send it to the cousin. So with that in mind, I want to research, and if you didn't see the episode that I did on the primary Genealogy TV channel, I'll call it GTV1, I did an episode with Maureen Taylor, the photo detective, and we were talking about all the little details in the background and who we think all these people are. And she believes that this is Christopher and Laura here as well, younger version of them. And anyway, it was kind of interesting. My cousin has also sent me this really old, she didn't send it to me, photographs of these really old photo albums, which I think one of them might be this one right down here, which is kind of fun. All right, with that, it is time to kind of take a look at Mads Nielsen Wolbol, who I believe is the brother of Laura. And so I have him up here, and one of the things I wanted to explain was kind of where I am in the family tree. This whole blue section is the Danish part of my family tree, and so we're working on this family, and specifically this couple, the brother of Laura. Okay, so that kind of sets you up as to where we are. So if we go and we look at the tree in the vertical view, this gives us on Ancestry the descendancy version of it. So here's Mads Hansen and Christopher Madsen. So the Danish culture is that the first part of the last name, Mads, is the father's first name, and Sen is the son of Mads. So that's how Christopher Madsen gets the name from Mads Hansen. And so, long story short, same thing here. Soren's daughter is the daughter of Soren's. So her father's first name is likely Soren. Let me get this to open up. There you go. So he was Soren's Rasmussen. So his father's first name was Rasmus, I guess. I don't know how you would pronounce that. So anyway, that's kind of a quick and dirty thing about the Danish culture. So what we're focused on today is Laura's brothers. So in the previous episode, if you saw it, I said that I hadn't done any research notes on her brothers. I don't know why this is going so far out. But remember, we're looking for whoever could possibly have immigrated to the United States, specifically to Laramie, Wyoming, and who would have been alive in around the mid-1880s, and who could that person be in that photograph? Well, one could be Mads Wolbol, brother Hans Nielsen, or Hans Lorentzen. I don't believe there are any other brothers here. No, they're all sisters. Okay. Sorry, my computer's being very slow because I'm backing up some genealogy files. All right, so we've got a couple different possibilities here. These two guys are probably the same person. I have to do the research. But right now, I am focused on this guy. And so I said I hadn't done any research notes, but I went and looked, and sure enough, I had. But I even made a note here that these are a mess. Notes need to be cleaned up. And it looks like they were updated in 2016. So I need to clean these up, and I need to do the research. So that's my task for today. I'm going to do some of these off camera and try and get this cleaned up quickly to not bore you. But because some of these are in Danish, and I need to translate and do some laborious work in order to get these notes cleaned up. But again, we're doing these in chronological order. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and clean up these notes. I'm going to put this stuff with proper source citations and get things organized the way they should be. This, was done, 8 years ago? And so I just wanted to, I'm going to go and I'm going to read through this a little bit and try and get these notes cleaned up before I bore you with all of the details. By the way, this is a land record from the BLM website. We'll talk about it. So as I'm cleaning up his research notes for Mads Nielsen Wolbol, and let me show you where I'm at on his research notes. And sorry, I've been pausing because some of this is just take way too long to explain. So I'm cleaning up some of his research notes, and there was some information that I had put in here years ago, and I've been kind of cleaning it up. And so what I've been doing, some of this is transferred from the index, and then I went looking for the actual records that match his immigration. So he immigrated in 1871 according to the 1910 census, and he would have been about 30 years old at the time of immigration. Well, sure enough, here he is at 29 years old. He's leaving the same district that the rest of his family is from, which is, I can't even pronounce the name. It's right here. However you pronounce that. The county in Denmark. And so, long story short, is here's an image I captured of him. This matches one of these two records. So let me explain. So if we go to this Danish directory, and I did a search for Mads Nelson, and you can see that says indirect. So what that means is that he hopped from probably Denmark to probably Liverpool or someplace, and then from Liverpool to the United States, as was common for these folks. Okay, so these are both the same person. Ignore these. This is somebody else. Okay, so then what I did was I went and I clicked on these links right here. Okay, and that takes me to this page. So this is where I copied that image into my research notes right here. But how did I get there, you ask? So the Danish, if you're doing any kind of Danish research, the archive online, this is the Danish archives online. So let me back up. This directory took me, the whole point here is go to the front matter. So this directory took me to here. And I dialed into 1871. So when you get there, it looks like this. And so you go, all right, so we're looking for 1871. His last name is Nielsen. Again, remember, Wolbol was a place or type of place. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe somebody out there who has got Danish ancestry can explain it to me. But we're looking for N. So I go to 1871, and I'm going to the front matter. This is the front matter, and it's an index. And I go N. This says slide 117. When I did this on the other record, it said slide 133. So that's how I got to this one. So theoretically, if I go to slide 117, I should be able to get to him. So we're going to scroll down. So this is even in another language. You can use the front matter to help you find where you're going. So there's 117. Hopefully, we're keeping our fingers crossed that we find who we're looking for. We're looking for Mads Nielsen. Okay, so Mads. Is he in here? Tell me he's in here. Mads? Hello, Mads. Where are you? Maybe he's on the other page? I don't see him. See, this is part of doing research live. Sometimes you don't find it. There's Nels Nielsen. There's Jens. Sorens Nielsen. You're probably seeing it and screaming at the TV going, hey, there it is. No, I don't see it. All right, so let's go to the next image. We're going to go to see if it might be. There he is. All right, so this is it. This is it. Okay. Whew. Started to worry there for a minute. All right, so here is another thing. Again, I use Google Lens on my cell phone to show the translations on this. So if you go to Google Lens and then you hold up your cell phone to the screen, you can actually read this. This says name, and I'm going to do this actually right now. Wow. And I know you can't see this, but the first column says the immigrant's full name. The second column says position. I'm reading this off my cell phone. The third column says place of birth, last place of residence, if it is in a different place from birth. And then the next column says alder. It's not translating probably because it's sideways. The next one says place of destination. And then the next one says of the contract. And then number and litra. I'm not sure what that means. And then show date. And then the column on the right says annotation. And then as we move across the centerfold, it says immigrant's full name, position, and so on. So that's a second. So I was reading basically across what this said using my cell phone and Google Lens. And so Yeah, we found him right here, and it says landman, which means farmer. And this is pretty cool. I actually have to say, this is really quite cool. So I'm going to capture that and add that into my research notes. So I'm in my research notes, and I'm just going to copy that. I made a little arrow just to point that out as to who it is. And normally I realize that these are hard to find records, so that's why I'm putting it in my research notes. And it's even harder to write source citations for something in a different language. So usually what I do, it's not the professional way. I'd find a Danish professional researcher to give me a proper research source citation for this, but typically I use the URL. In this case, is that the right way to do it? No, but it is what I can do right now as I'm trying to do this research. What I do, if that makes sense, is I make notes. So I'll grab the URL, and then I will say, you know, something along the lines of go to 1871, slide 118, and, you know, Mads is on the left-hand side. You know, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I think, lines down. I'll count that again when I go to write it. But just kind of giving myself a breadcrumb trail to get back to that. So while this is not a proper source citation, it is something. So there is the URL. Go to 1871, slide 118. Mads Nelson is on the left-hand page, line 10. So what would be really cool to be able to absolutely have confidence, I would say 90% confident that this is him, because everything's lining up. He's in the right place at the right time, going to the right place. My thought process is chain migration, right? So if I can find other family members who might be traveling at the same time with him, then it would seal the deal for sure. However, a lot of times these young men at the time, sometimes they were the first to leave the homeland and come across looking for a better life. Now, what I did find as I was rereading my research notes from, 8 years ago, I found a bunch of information, and I read through some of this. Let me see if I can find it here. Please stand by. So Google Books had this article about progressive men of Wyoming, and Mads is mentioned in here. And it says, one of the leading ranch stockmen of Albany County, Wyoming, Mr. Wolbol, who was born in 1841, is a native of Denmark, son of Nels and Mary Larsen Wolbol, which is great because I can, you know, solidify some of that information with this book that was written. Both natives of that country. His father was born in 1805 and followed the occupation of farming in his native country up to that time of his decease, which occurred in 1881. So lots of good information here, okay? And his mother was born in 1850 and passed away in 1899, having lived to the age of 84. And so it says she was the daughter of August and Dora Christensen Larsen, both natives of Denmark. Mads grew to man's estate in his native country to receive there his early education, attending public school, and so on. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Let's see. So he was assisting his family until 1871. It can result to try for his better condition and to seek his fortune in the new world beyond the sea, and leaving his relatives and the whole of his childhood and early manhood with the scanty savings which, that's my typo, he had been able to accumulate and come to America, coming directly to, I think that was supposed to be Alabama, Nebraska. I'm not sure. I have to go back and find that to reread that. So he's gathering information until he came to Laramie, Wyoming, secured employment again at the Union Pacific Railroad, and remained there for about 3 years when he resigned his position to purchase a ranch of 200 acres of land. Using this capital, using all the capital which he could command, he gathered 20 head of basically cattle and embarked in this business, raising cattle. He continued in this business until down to present time 1902. So this book is written in 1902. It's continued in the same business down to present time 1902. That's good. All right, so this is all good information. So this helps confirm that he came in 1871, which is noted here. And so excellent information. That was on Google Books. So if you're not familiar with Google Books, I'm going to grab this, Control-C. We're going to jump over to Google Books. Google Books. Books.google. And there it is. And what's cool about Google Books is you can read through it. And what page did I note that that was on? Please stand by. Page 430. So if we zoom down to page 430, actually, can we do it here? Probably not. You all... I was looking to see if there was a way I could skip ahead to page... what did I say it was? 430? Page 430. Yeah, we got a long ways to go. I'll let you know when I get there. So one thing you can do here is use the sidebar to jump around, right? So I'm trying to find page 430. Let's dismiss that. 442. 438. It looks like I had done some sort of search with the word of. Oh, maybe it was because of the title? I don't know. There's some cool stuff in this book. 434. 433, we're getting there. 431. Here he is. Okay, so how can I turn off the highlights? By the way, I found a download button, so I'm downloading the PDF. So now I have it in my library, and then I'm just going to say download and save it. So I'm going to save it in the Wolbol. I know it says Mads Nielsen, but he's like got two last names. I know it's confusing. It's confusing to me too. So now I've got that in there, and I could actually search the text if I wanted to that way. So I found it. Now this is the PDF version instead of the online version. If you'll notice, this says image 512, but the page is 430. So this is where I took that information from and had transcribed it. So I'm going to go back and fix a couple of those little transcription errors that I had. But this is really good information, and I'm feeling good about this. Okay, that transcription error was Omaha, Nebraska. I must have been probably voice tracking it, dictating it into Word when I did it, and I didn't catch that little error, so I've got that fixed now in my research notes. So now I want to create a source citation for this, and so what I need to do is go to the front matter in order to do that. Now this was page 430, And so I'm going to go to the front matter. And so remember, this is telling me that this was produced in 1902. We'll see if the publication date is the same. So we're going to go up to the top. And the only downside to using the PDF version versus the online version is that it takes a lot of resources on the computer to sit there and munge. This is why it's not showing me the front matter. So I'm going to pause for a minute, go find the front matter, let the computer rest for a moment, and catch up. Just for grins and giggles, because I wanted to know where this location is, where he was coming from. See, so I copied that and put it into Google Map to see what. It's not actually Google Map, it's mapcarta.com. So some of my ancestors were from here, so this is very close. And then some were from Colding. And so, yeah, I just think that's cool to be able to see it on a map. And we can zoom out. It's all pretty much in the same area of Denmark where almost the entire clan came from. So I'm not entirely sure about this, but I'm looking at this Danish emigration record for Mads Nielsen. He's coming from Bowling Viele. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Denmark. He's 29 years old. This is at the direct. No, excuse me, indirect, I think. On April 18th. It looks like he might be traveling with somebody named Christian Nielsen, but he's from a different location. He's 27 years old. And this says ditto, I believe. So that makes me think that he might have been traveling with this other person, which, if that's the case, there might be a brother, right? So then I hop over to his Mad's profile, and I look at his siblings, and there's a Han Christian Nielsen, 1843. Let me think about this for a second. 1843. So if they're traveling in... They're traveling in 1871 minus 1843. He'd be 28 years old-ish. Where is that record? That could be him. That could be his brother, Christian Nielsen. I gotta think about that. And if you're wondering if any of these others should be the same person, these are different dates over here. So if you come to the top, this is, I'm going to use Google Lens again. I know you can't see this, but that, I got to move my mouse so it'll actually translate. It says project date. No, it says preview date. And then it says show date. It's kind of messing with the translation, but I'm pretty sure that is the date of voyage. I'm going to see if I can get my Danish cousin to help me translate some of this. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break and go have some dinner and finish this up a little bit later. I have to thank my daughter for this one. She taught me how to put ad blockers on Firefox so that I don't have to deal with all those ads and show you a clean Find a Grave website. So anyway, long story short is, well, anytime you go to Find a Grave, make sure that you add a, say, leaf flowers, and that way it puts a timestamp. And I always put my relationship to this person on here. So one of the things that I found over here on Find a Grave was this newspaper article. And again, using Google Lens, I was able to translate it, and I emailed it to myself. So here is the translation that I emailed to myself, and it says, death, my faithful husband and my children's. I'm sorry, that's not what it said. It said, I think it said, faithful father. Somehow the translation getting through didn't quite come through. Passed away on the 11th of July in 1915 after 6 months of illness and 2 days of bed rest. 8 daughters. Clearly not all the translation came over. I'm telling you, the Google Lens thing is fun though, because you can then look, it even tells me where to go find it. The Danish pioneer, Omaha, Nebraska. So yeah, just another little tidbit. Okay, I was laughing at myself. So I went and I translated this in Google Lens, like I told you. And what I did was I managed to capture a picture of the translation. And so that's what you can see on the right here. I emailed it to myself, which is pretty easy. And then I'm going to save that as something I can do in my files. What I was laughing about was it says wonderful father instead of terrible father. Okay, a note about Find a Grave also is that you always want to grab the plot number, the memorial ID, all of this information, and plug it into a what am I trying to say? A source citation. Here I'm using Site Builder again. They do have one for Find a Grave and Building Graves. And so you hit Build a Citation, and then we copy it and we put it into our research notes, which are on the wrong page. Let me bring that over. And so here I had actually put the URL, and if you know me, I'm not a big fan of just URLs, although I'm doing that a lot in this one, especially with the Danish ancestry websites, because writing the source citations are really challenging. And quite honestly, if I were doing professional research for one of my clients, I would absolutely take the time to go do that. But since these are my personal notes, I'm not going to do it right now. I may do it down the road. I actually have some source citations in Danish, but what takes so long is that you have to translate it into English, and so it's just a little bit more time consuming. And so most of the time I just do a quick and dirty source citation so that I can find it again when I need to. And so with that, I'm slowly getting this cleaned up with some of the information that I've found, but I still got some work to do. So I'm going to pause the video again and crank out a few more of these. So one other thing I want to do while I'm here on Find a Grave is search the cemetery. I don't know if you know this trick, but so he's buried in Green Hill Cemetery in Laramie, Albany County, Wyoming, which is where a lot of the relatives are. So if we just click into the cemetery, we can now search for other people by the same last name. And that's all I want to do is just click on the last name and see who else is here. Well, this name looks familiar. Obviously, we have him. There's Nels, who I know is a relative. I just don't remember exactly offhand. This one is Walter. Interesting. Hold on one second. Let me get back to you. So I ran back over to Ancestry because I know that a couple of those names, Katrine, I think is her name. Hang on, let me pull this back up. Please stand by. So Katrine caught my eye, and I know I saw Walter just today in another record. So I was like, oh, maybe more of them immigrated together. So let me minimize that. So then I go over here and I'm a Mads Nelson Wolbol. and it says his spouse is Katrine. And I'm like, okay, let me figure that out. This is what gets so confusing. So this is the guy we've been focused on, Mads Nielsen Wolbol. His father is Nels Madsen Wolbol. So the names are kind of almost backwards, right? So it gets very confusing when you're doing the research, and so I'm still trying to sort it out. So I'm going to pause again and see if I can figure this out real quick. Okay, well, one of the problems was on Mads, I had the siblings opened up, which was throwing me off. So I closed the siblings, and there's Katrine. Her maiden name was Iverson. So that is the Katrine Wolbol that is in the census. Now here's Walter Wolbol, who is also in the same cemetery on Find a Grave. So let's see, Walter's born 1883 according to this, and Walter's born 1883 according to this. Okay, Katrine 1844 to 1924, and I have to keep pulling up Firefox because this is over on Firefox. And Katrine 1843 to 1924. So is that the same? Let's see. I'm going to pop this over here and kind of compare. So we've got some slight discrepancies in the year here, but the death date is the same. Walter's birth year is the same, so we might have some more information here. And there's Nels, right? So we've got some new information here, which is awesome, which is one of the reasons why you want to search the cemetery for the same last name. Now, I would want to also search the name Madsen and anybody else in this family line that, here, let me get back over here. So here's Nels Madsen, and here is, wait for it, Laura, who we were researching. She's married to Christopher Madsen. So this was kind of the line we were going down. So I'm not sure when or where she died. I'll have to look into that. But right now, the focus is really on Nels Madsen and Mads Wolbol, which is her brother. So I know this can get really confusing, especially with these Danish names, and I'm just as confused as you are. So that's why I keep pausing and figuring it out. So remember, I said that we had to kind of go sideways in order to solve some of these problems sometimes. And so I'm going to look at the vertical view again. Wait for it. And now I'm totally in the wrong place on the tree. Let me get back to Laura. Whoops. Because I'm recording, everything's taking a long time. There she is. All right, so we wanted to look at her siblings, and we were looking for, remember, the whole goal here, I know we got a little sidetracked, but the whole goal is to try and figure out who this guy is. It's either a brother of Laura or brother of Christopher Madsen. So that's kind of what I'm going after. So now that we know, after doing a little bit of research, that some of these people actually did come over, and we know that there are maybe some more siblings. I have to let me tease this out a little bit more, but we know that there's some more Wolbols here that are related to her in the same cemetery. So bear with me. I'm going to pause again for a second. One of the things I noticed on the Find a Grave when I searched that name, look, they're all in the same, I don't know why this is here. They're all in the same plot. Plot B, 32.2, 32.1, 32.3, and 32.4. So I'm going to guess that without a map of that cemetery, that they're all right next to each other. Okay, just to kind of get an idea, I'm back to the research plan here, and I added find a grave, and so I added Wolbol, and I'm going to cross that one off because I pretty much got them all of that family. So I'm going to cross that off. I've still got these others to look for, so hang in there with me. So what I'm doing now is I'm going and I'm adding that information from Find a Grave. Even though Find a Grave is not a great source, it's something, and I will be able to then go back and research that later if I need to. But this is kind of an offshoot. It's not a direct line ancestor, but this is him and is the child of Katrina and Mads, or Nels, I think it is Katrina, right? Spouse is Mads, and then we have Walter over here. And actually, there's nothing here. I need to leave flowers here, by the way. Boy, this can get confusing after a while. So what I'm doing is I'm going back to look at the tree again. Here's Mads, here's Katrine, here's Walter as I'm adding them to the research notes and adding the find a grave information, because some of these people are so far out, like this is a first cousin a couple times removed, because Mads is the one I was looking at because he is the brother of Laura, who is my direct line ancestor. I'm trying to figure out who's in that picture. So I know that he is in Laramie. He dies in Laramie in 1915. That's one possibility. I'm going to research these other guys too to see if they are. But for right now, I'm going to pause just for a second to get Walter put in and figure out real quickly. Here's another one that is from the Laramie area. I don't know that I've seen. Oh, Milton is the spouse of Eva. Okay, so these are the only two guys. All right. Whew. I'll tell you what, it can get confusing after a while. So I'm going to go finish putting this stuff together because that's not really the goal here, but I want to grab it while I can. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing oops, I'm on the wrong one. I'm grabbing the URL right here, and I'm in Firefox so I don't have to see the ads because I get so tired of it. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to add, for Walter, I'm going to add a web link. In case you don't know how to do that, you go add, or you could do it right here, add a web link. I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to say find a grave. Now I know that this isn't the normal way you do it, but it's the way I'm doing it right now because I'm in a hurry. And so now what I can do, well, I can't attach a web link to a death, but more than likely there's going to be a hint show up in the next day or so for find a grave, because now that I put this information in here, it should give me some more information. So I'm not going to do any more with Walter. Now I'm back on Mads, and I'm going to jump down to Katrine because she was in here, and I'm pretty sure, I think I saw find a grave already in here for her. Yeah, she's already in here. So I'm not going to do any more on that right now because, again, she is kind of a offshoot that I don't need to worry about right now. So returning to Mads for a moment, what I wanted to point out was on Find a Grave, this is Mads, here's Katrine. The children listed are Laura, Eva, and Dora. If I go over to my tree, I have Laura, Eva, and Dora. And I also have Nels and Walter we just talked about. So I need to now take a look at Nels. So let's open him up real quick. He is listed here as in a find a grave index. Interesting. Let's go look at that. View. Now this is going to have all the ads in it because is he in the same cemetery? He is, but he did not show up in my search, did he? Let's go look. The search I had done on Find a Grave Oh, there he is. Duh. And yeah, I had him already opened up over here. All right, so I just hadn't gotten to him yet. See how challenging it can be sometimes? I'm just stamping that I've been here. 1883 to 1903, Green Hill Cemetery, yada yada. All right, so that's all good. I believe that's already saved in this guy's profile. And it is. Okay. Admittedly, there's more work to be done, but I'm not a direct descendant of this guy, so I'm not going to worry about it right now because I'm still staying focused on Mads over here. Okay, where do we go from here? We got all this information, and we have land records. All of that stuff is already in his research notes. So let's go to the top. I've kind of got this a little bit cleaned up. It's not perfect, but I've got it cleaned up quite a bit. I actually need to source this information, and that information also comes from a couple different places, but I do need to put a source in there. I do have his baptismal records and confirmation information. The 1960 census, I need to put a source in there. So I've got some cleanup work to do here. And it might help if I could spell. And let's see. This is the church registries that we found in the Danish archive website. And then I had collected earlier some information about Danes emigrating, and some information. I'm not going to go through all of that now, but it was something I found a while ago, and so I had plugged it in here, which was kind of cool for me to read through again. And so it basically, he is immigrating. This is a ID number on the Danish website, and again, I had plugged this in. This isn't something I normally do, but when it's Danish records and it's a challenge to search, sometimes I will just go ahead and embed that in my research notes. This is one of the indexes from the immigration records. I made a note here that he had worked for the Union Pacific Railroad. And then this Google book information was really good, and I'm going to put a note here that says see end of this document, because it is, I have since put it down there, and I'm going to make that black now because it's not important. 1890, he added that ranch, another 160 acres. Okay, so he's buying land, and he does quite well. And so one of the reasons why the Danish came over was because, if you hadn't heard this story already, that the eldest son usually inherited the land, and it was a status thing. They didn't want to divide the land amongst a bunch of kids because that made the ranch smaller, so the eldest son typically would inherit that land. So in America, being that Mads Nelson is probably not the oldest child, he comes to America with, the chain migration of other Danish, and they settle in Wyoming. And this is from the BLM website. So the western states, it's a little bit easier to search, but if you, let me go here real quick. If you search on here, you can just search documents, and a lot of times if you know where your ancestors are, you can search for them. Well, this is a fabulous website because it's actually pretty easy to figure out. Just make sure that you look at the other related documents once you get in here. So document, so if we go here, patent image. It's basically already copied into my research notes, but you'll see that, well, I guess it's going to take its time pulling up. Here you can, on the related documents, you can see that parcel of land and some of its owners. And so here is his. So let's see if we can go there. It's not going to zoom in right to it, is it? I can't remember exactly which button you click on to get it to go through, but you can actually see all the way to the actual patent, which I had done earlier. It's somewhere in here. It's in the Laramie area. I can't remember offhand, but you can see, hang on one second, where I had grabbed an image of it right here. I forget, it's been a while since I've been on that website, but you can see where it shows you exactly where it is. I think I had to check on those check marks, which I didn't do. But check this out. Clicking on patent image, it took me to this beautiful document that has some of the land record information that you can download, you can print. It's kind of fun, kind of cool. You can read through it. There he is. So that's kind of cool. So if you play around in this website, you can figure some of this out. So I went into surveys, and then you can look at the original survey, which is another beautiful document. If you click on the plat image, and then you can see, look at this. Isn't this nice? So the BLM website is very cool. It's been a while since I've been up here, so I don't remember exactly how to navigate it, but make sure that you're checking that out if you have people in the western part of the United States. So land records, you know, there's meets and bounds in the east, and then there's this grid system in the west, and so it's a lot easier when you have the northeast corner of section 16, you know, to find what you're looking for instead of going from the tree to the rock to the southwest 14 chains, and you know, it's meets and bounds is a pain in the butt. But so that is the Bureau of Land Management. It actually is called GLOW, glowrecords.blm.gov. So that's the General Land Office is the BLM website. I know this is getting really long and detailed, but what I want to do is I want to go view, and I'm going to go side by side so that I can flip through these pages pretty quickly. So just a reminder, we're always working backwards. Now this is a, you know, kind of a work in progress, right, of all of the stuff that I had found back, 8 years ago. And I updated the update date at the bottom, but I hadn't worked on it in quite a while. And so what I want to do is I want to go from the bottom up. Typically I go from the top down when I have all these sources that I had imported a while ago. But remember, we're working from death to birth, so we want to double check all of the records working backwards. And so we have burial records that are and death records, and so now we're going to go to residence, which are city directories, and then I'm just going to work through this whole list and make sure everything, I'm going to do this offline, but I'm going to make sure everything is in the research notes before going on to the next one. There's that BLM records website that I found, which is only sourcing his name, which is funny. So I'll put some dates on that as well. Okay, I lied. I started from the top and in the source list, and the first one was the 1850 Denmark census, Danish census. Here's his father, Nels Madsen, and here's Mads Nelson. So he's 9 years old. I'm gonna quickly put that into my research notes, and put a source citation on it, and so I'm going to pause while I do that. Okay, it is the next morning. It is Sunday morning, and I'm back at it again. And so what I wanted to show you was a few things. So we are in a Danish census record, and so of course this is very challenging to read. Just so you know, this is the 1850 census, right? And this is on Ancestry, and so what we have here is Nels Madsen, and I forget the first name. Oh, Anne Marie Lauren's daughter. Okay, so he's 44, she's 32. We have Mads Nelson, who's the one we're focused on. He's 9 years old. Who is this? This is something. Hang on, let me cheat. This is Hans Mads Nelson here, and he is 7 years old. And then we have Soren Nelson, who is 2 years old, right here. And so what I have done is I added this information. Let me drag it over here so you can see it. I've added this information into my research notes, and now I'm getting ready to write a source citation for this. And so I put my cursor right there, and then I went to references and I hit insert note, which gave me this little number 4, and the number 4 is empty right now. Why? Because I need to craft a source citation that is not found in Site Builder, which we've been talking about Site Builder. So what I have been doing, I'm going to move this aside for a second so I can show you, is, you know, the good old-fashioned way of going to evidence explained. And this is the newest version. This is a book, believe it or not. I know that it has a cell phone on the cover, which is kind of throws you off, but this is the Bible. This is the book that we use for writing source citations. In fact, Site Builder you know, is referencing this as well when they're creating their source citations. But there aren't any Danish already pre-built, or even any Norwegian at all, source citations up here just yet. I could put in a request for one, but right now what I want to do is I'm going to craft one in my research notes from the book. And so what I'm doing is, in that book on page 280, there is a Swedish online census using, even though I'm Danish, right? This is a Danish census record. I'm going to craft a source citation based on the formula for the Swedish version, which is going to be the same. It's the format's going to be the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type that out real quick and not make you watch it, but I'll get back to you in just a second. So I'm going to pause the video. So just to let you know, I'm cheating a little bit because I can't write this kind of information. So I'm just going to copy this and plug it into my source citation in here. So, oh, one of the things you can do too, here, let me back up. Backing up. You can go up to and create macros. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is I'm going to go to View, Macros. I'm going to record a macro. I'm going to call it Danish census. And you can't put, when you do this, you can't put any spaces in there. I'm going to say OK, and it's now recording. See the little, looks like a little cassette. So now I'm going to type 1850 census. I'm going to, oh, I can't paste. If I were to paste, it would just copy the, darn it. Best laid plans. I'm just going to go ahead and do this to get this done. And so my recording is going to be off because it's going to use Control V in the recording instead of what I'm doing. So I'm going to stop that because that's not going to work. But if I were to do that, I'll just go ahead and let it run. So I'm going to type, I've got the location. I'm going to pause just for a second. All right, I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. So I've continued to record here, and now Control-Shift-I, because I'm recording this macro, it's not going to be perfect, but because I'm recording this macro, you have to type everything exactly the same. Well, I had cut and paste the location in there, but so now I went Control-Shift-I for italics because I need to type ancestry, and believe it or not, I'm actually surprised that Elizabeth Shown Mills' book has this in bold font here. Whoops, I need to Control-Shift-I again. And now parentheses, and then we go https://www.ancestry.com. Personally, I don't believe that this is needed anymore, but what I'm going to do in the example in the book shows the full URL. I'm going to put it as an also, meaning basically we're stacking source citations in one reference. And so I'm going to then space, colon, accessed, whoops, I missed a space, accessed, helps if I could spell. What is today? I forget today. Today is the 15th of September, 15 September 2024. And this font is really weird. I'm going to change the font as soon as I'm done here. And that is... okay, I made a mistake. Let me go back here. Boom. Now, accessed 15 September 2024. This is not a perfect source citation, I'm going to tell you right now, because there's just so many things that are, you know, crafting a source citation can be an art, as Elizabeth Shown Mills has said, and many professional genealogists, it's more of an art than a science. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up. I'm going to put entry for, I think this was Niels, Madsen, and family as well, even though I'm specifically showing Mads Nelson here, age 9, because this is his research notes. I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to say also. I'm going to stop the macro, and I'll show you that in a second. So I'm going to say also, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the URL from up here, Control C because it's already highlighted, come back here, Control V so that it's in there, and I personally don't like all this bold, so I'm going to unbold it, even though that's what she shows in the book. Okay, it's, you know, these are your research notes, right? And if I were doing this for a client, I would be much more picky about how I did this. But so basically it says 1850 census, the location that I copied off of the top up here on the source citation. And then, you know, if we want to get in the weeds about it, sheet 179, which was pinned at the top of the page right here, is where I grabbed that from. And if I wanted to be really lazy about it, I could have just like copied this. But if you're doing professional research, you would not do this, okay? We should also put, and this is not in the book, but I should also put citing. So let's do that. We're going to grab this, Control C to copy. I'm going to go back, whoops, sorry, over to my research notes, and I'm going to insert here, access 24, I'm going to say citing, and paste that in there as well. There's so much information in there that, you know, I should be able to find it again if I didn't. So, all right. One down, many to go. I'm going to pause while I add some more. So, whoops, sorry. I'm going to go back to the thing. Oh, by the way, I did show you this, right? So you can get the book on Amazon. I'll try and remember to leave a link in the description for it. But if I don't, you can always find it on my website in the shop, and then go to the, I need to fix this. This looks horrible. It's because whole thing is being revised right now. But if you click on the Amazon store, it will take you to my Amazon shop, and it's in the books section over here, and the scanners and other things. But anyway, I don't talk about that very often, but there it is. So let's get back over to Ancestry. So what I'm doing is I'm just double checking to make sure that all these sources are in my research notes. So I'm going to do that real quick, and I'm not going to make you sit through that. Okay, here's another tip for you. I'm putting in the 1910 into my research notes over here as I'm typing them. This is a couple things I found funny. So I always put the date of enumeration. Well, look at this. The guy wrote at the top of the page, the dates of enumeration was 5, 6, 7, and 9 of May 1910. I've never seen that before. That I find hilarious. But as I'm entering this information, I am reading, excuse my clearing of my throat. Where'd he go? I lost him here. Where is he? Where is he? Mads, where did you go? He's like 67 years old at this point. Where'd he go? I lost him. You guys are yelling at the screen going, he's right there. There he is, Mads Wolbol. Okay, so he's 69. So just a couple things about the 1910 census. The M1 means he's been married once and for 38 years. Okay. Children born 9. This is his wife, Katrina. It's spelled differently this time, but it's same woman. 9 births, children living 3. I have to look at that. That's a little surprising. Okay, both are born in Denmark. Both parents are born in Denmark. Immigrated in 1871. They both are saying they're naturalized. She immigrates in 1872. I'm sorry, did I say 1871 and 1872? He's a farmer. So here's the thing. So he's a farmer, general farm, and this says, I believe this says either O and A or O and O, employment type. So how do we figure out what that means? Well, what I do is I download all of the instructions off of the National Archives website, both the instructions, and I pick up little blank census forms so I can know what the thing is. So here are the instructions, and I'm going to go find, I'm going to pause the video here in a second, but I'm going to go find where that column is and see what that abbreviation means if it's listed in here. So I'm going to figure that out and I'll get back to you. So in the index it says here occupation. So I'm going to jump down to somewhere around here, page 32. Okay, I found it. Column 20, which is the column that was in question there. OA for own account, meaning they're self-employed, basically. So that's what that is, own account. So now I'm going to add that to my research notes. I just wanted to share that little tidbit with you. Okay, before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to show you what I'm doing. So here is Mads Wolbol on the census, and I'm putting that information into my research notes down here. So I'm basically saying, and you can see it across here, Mads, 69, a male, white, married once, 38 years. That's this information right here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Born in Denmark as well as both parents. Immigrated in 1871, which is this information down here. Okay. He speaks English, is a farmer, is a general farm, which is what they wrote here. The OA, meaning employed on his own account. He can read and write. He owns his own farm and is free of mortgage. So where that information came from was here. So He owns his farm. His mortgage is free, so he owns his property, and it is a farm. So that information is there. Then I also wrote, also listed is his wife, Katharina, I guess I'm not sure, it's Katharina? I'm not sure how that would be pronounced. Female, white, 66 years old, right? Married once. This is good information that you get in the 1910 census. You don't get in other census records. 38 years old, 9 children born, 3 living, which I really find interesting. Kind of sad, actually. And she was born in Denmark as well as both of her parents. She immigrated in 1872 and was naturalized. One of the things I wanted to point out here is if he filed his papers and they were married, she automatically becomes naturalized when he does because they're married. And so there may not be any naturalization papers for her, just letting you know. There is no occupation. She speaks English. Yes, she can read and write. And so that is it for that. So now I'm starting to write the source citation for this. And let's see. Where did I start to craft that? Hang on one second. Duh. It was over here in Site Builder. So as I'm starting to build the source citation, some of this information is coming from, let me maximize this now so you can see it. So I picked up the census records, federal population census records, 1910 to 1940. And so one of the things I find a little redundant on this is the sheet number. She's got, Site Builder folks have both sheet and page number, which are pretty much the same thing. And so then you would pick up the dwelling, the family number, and the person's name. So the dwelling number is over here. So even if you push up, it's actually easier to see sometimes. And that would be the same as the house number. So we would have, there is no house number, okay. Visited and family number, so 65. Interesting. All right, so we have a house number, a visited number, and a family number. I'm going to say the visited number is going to go in the dwelling here. 65, 65. This is Mads. Which one of these Danish names? Wolbol. Wolbol. So when you're, so this particular one on Site Builder is for 1910 through 1940. So what you can do is you can pop open the side over here to see which T number it is. Here it is T number 624 and it's roll number 1745. So what did I just say that was? 624. So the drop down is 624 and it is roll number 1745. 1745. And the collection I steal right off the top here. U.S. 1910 U.S. Federal Census. I don't know why that's there. And the website is Ancestry. All you need to do is type Ancestry there. This is where you type the URL. By the way, for those who might be in the advertising business, it is not necessary to put www in front of anything anymore. I don't know why we still do this. It is old school, and it just distracts from the reader. So like if you're looking at a billboard as you're driving down the street and you see www whatever, it's more minutia that the eyes have to look through. So if you're doing any kind of advertising, this is from my old advertising days. All right, building a citation, we're going to copy that. And it's not perfect because it says sheet and page number, which is redundant, but for my personal research notes, I don't really care, so I'm going to go and put this in here. And so then we put the reference in here. Oh, I had removed the Ribbon. I'm going to pin the ribbon back on so it stays on. I'm going to insert a footnote. I'm going to Control V to paste. And we're going to move on. I'm going to pause for a minute while I pick up whatever it is I'm doing next. Okay, I want to show you what I'm doing. I'm back now. So down here, this was just another family tree, which pretty much had the same information. So now I'm working my way down this list. I said I was going to work backwards, but I lied. So I'm just going from top to bottom because it makes it easy. So I'm going to look at this Danish select baptisms. And if you'll notice, there is some good information here, but it's just an index. There's no image to see. But that is a clue that there's more to find. Well, I had done that already, and that's what some of this confirmation stuff is that I found earlier. So I'm just going to make a note of this as an additional source. Like I'll put it as an also on my research notes and move on. Oh, look, FHL number. Oh, we need to go look for that. All right, pausing just for a moment. Okay, I cobbled together a quick source citation for that database as well, and I noted the FHL number, which is important. I also used the hyperlink again because it's my personal notes, and so now I'm going to go find that FHL number to see if this is something I've already found. I'm kind of repeating some of my research, I realize, but it's been 8 years since I looked at this ancestor, so I kind of have to refresh my memory on some of this. So for those who might not realize what an FHL number it is, Family History Library number, and so I'm going to go look and see if I can find that record. And how you do that is you go search, records, more options, then we come down to image or group number, film number, and I copied that from the other page over here, right? I copied it from the Ancestry page, and so now I'm going to see if I can find it. Why do we do this? Because a lot of times when you see an FHL number, they actually have the image, whereas here it's just a database. I suspect this is information I already have, but I'm just going to double check. So now I'm going to search for Madsen Wolbol. Mads. It might be under his father's name of Wolbol. No results found. Let's just go like this and see what we get. How many? We got 64 results. I think what I would rather do is go look for his... Oh, because I'm looking under the wrong name. Duh. Okay, let's try that again. Mads Nielsen. Hit go. Alright. Make sure we get the right one. We have 5 results. What am I looking at over here? A birth date 1841. This was a baptism. Alright, let's look for the father, Nils Madsen Wolbol. I wonder if I can copy that. Copy? That's a link. Alright, let's see. Because I'm not feeling like this is the right... These are spouses, and I am looking for father, principal. And we're looking for a birth date of 1841. So let's try this again. Let's reset. And we're going to go Mads. Make sure I get his name right. These guys always confuse me. Nils Madsen Wolbol. See? Nils. Or Niels. I'm not sure. Madsen. H-V-O-L-B-O-L. I'm pretty sure is how it's spelled. Okay. Ooh, marriage record. Ooh, good stuff. I may or may not have that information. Father, child, Mads. This is probably what I'm looking for right here. So I'm going to open that in a new tab. I'm going to open this other one in a new tab so I don't lose it. All right, so yes, this is it. This is when we think there might be. All right, so what this is saying is I'm going to have to browse the entire film. So how do we do that? People probably bail on this right away. And so, yeah, oh, we've updated a few things. Okay, good to know. So now you're looking at this and going, oh my goodness. Well, a lot of times these books are organized in a certain way. And so if we can figure that out, see this book right here, we're looking for 1841. So what I want to do is I want to go back to the big grid and I want to find the front matter. See, let's even look at this one just for grins and giggles. Of course, it's written in Danish. And I could use my phone again to decipher that. But I'm going to guess that this information right here is going to be more helpful for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to look for the front matter for the next couple of books to see if I can jump ahead and see, okay, 1840 to 1925. See, we got 500 images here, so we're jumping ahead, beginning, end. See, this is very helpful, all this front matter that they're putting on here. Okay, we're getting closer. We're looking for 1841. Scrolling ahead, looking for another image that shows front matter. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. Now we're also looking for baptisms, but look at all of what's in here. This is kind of cool. All right, so now more than likely this is in chronological order. So if we take a look at the very first image, it says 1839. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump ahead and see 1844. All right, I went too far. So let's go, I don't know, halfway. I keep dividing in half until I get close. All right. There's Peter Hansen. I love these names. They're so cool. All right, so the image that we're looking for is 11 February. So let me get back to the, whoops, I'm in the wrong place. 11 February. So this is the 1st of March. So let's go backwards a page. All right, so it might be at the bottom of this page. 11 February. There it is. Mads Nelson. See, it's not so hard when you go and find the image from, you know, a long list. And this one's actually easier to read than the one that I have copied before. It's not as fuzzy. All right, this is good. All right, clearly written in Danish, and I've actually reached out to a cousin to help me read some of this, but I basically believe that says the father is Niels Hansen, Anne-Marie Lauren's daughter. I'm not sure what that says. Anybody reads Danish? I would love to know what this stuff says right here. And I'm going to capture this image and put it in my research notes as well as this URL. So I'm going to pause again for a moment. What I find interesting is that I believe that little warning message at the beginning said that it wasn't indexed, but look, it's got an index. I don't know if that is machine read or not, but there we go. So here's another tip for you. Now that we found it on Family Search, if you click on the information tab here at the bottom where the index is, click on that and then scroll down. You can copy the source citation and you don't have to craft anything. This works just fine for your personal notes. If you were doing professional research, you would need to recraft that a little more in the style in which the professionals want you to do it, but for personal research, this is absolutely fine. So I'm going to plug that in as the source for his birth, and I had put all that information in here, and then I'm going to hit references, insert footnote, control V, bada bing, we're done. I usually remove these extra lines and I try and make sure that this is in 10-point font. That is just me. Sometimes I will make sure that this is like Arial or something else too, but for now this is fine. I know this is really blown up big. It doesn't normally show quite that big, but at least we have a source citation now for his birth information. I'm also going to go capture an image of this as well because I want that whole thing. That I'm going to minimize this because this how can I explain this? This information is not indexed, and this is about, I believe, the grandparents and the standing in the community, I believe. So again, if any of you are Danish researchers and are an expert in the area, help me out because I am not an expert in the area. I'm going to use the snipping tool and I'm going to grab this and I'm going to, I think that's good enough, and then I'm going to copy that, copy. So I mean you could use Snagit or all kinds of things, but I'm going to put that up here. Okay, moving on. I do want to point one thing out. On Family Search, you can see that this record is already attached to this person in the tree. So if we go over to him on Family Search and we look at the sources, it should be in here if I'm understanding this correctly. So it looks like it is. So maybe that's not the same record. Let me go dig around and find it. That's because I was looking at the wrong one. That was the father, not the son. So if we go and we look at the details tab and we go to the son person, go to sources, 1841, I believe this is the record we were just looking at. It is. So yeah, this is the same image we were looking at. So I don't need to attach it because it's already attached to the person on Family Search. So what I could do if I wanted to is if I wanted to go here and I wanted to attach this record, view original document again. I'm going to grab the URL while I'm here, Control C to copy, because we know this is the record we were just looking at, right? Then I'm going to go to him on, and we could, you know, we could save it, save someone in your tree. It's already in here. But if it wasn't and we didn't have it at all on Ancestry, I could then add it as a web link right here. Okay, but it's already here, so I'm not going to do that. So here I am on Madsen Wolbol again, and if we look down here, there are two that appear to be the same, but they're actually different. They're basically different indexes. So here's the first one, and here is the second one. So it looks like the information was indexed twice. So I'm not going to do anything with that because I already have a better copy from the first one. Normally I would remove any duplicates, but this isn't really a duplicate. It's a different index. So I'm going to keep on moving down and see if there is anything else of interest here. So here's a city directory. It is probably already in my notes, but I will go check. Okay, so here he is as a cattle rancher at the bottom of this page right here, and it shows he's in 12, 13, 14, 15, 23, 24, 20. So these are probably the land districts that he is in, because this is a city directory, so it's going to show where he's at. And look at this value, 21,580. I'm not exactly sure what that is, if that's the value of the ranch or if this is acreage. I need to go figure that out. So I'm in image 96. I'm going to go to the front matter and see if there's some explanation as to what all of this is. So just to clarify, I'm on image 96. Now I'm going to go to image number 1 and see if there's any information at the front. And of course, usually it's on page 3. So let's go see if we can find something here. So this would be good information for our source citations. We've got some ads. I'm looking for something that says how to read this book, or some abbreviations. Oh, there's the front matter for our, so we're 1911 Albany County Directory. Here we go. Let me read through this and I'll get back to you. Well, this is kind of nice. Over on image number 8, it gives us a little bit of background of Laramie, Wyoming, first settled in 1867. This town was actually created, if I recall, because the railroads were coming through here. I'm telling you, the front matter has so much information. Here we got school districts, churches. There's lots of really good information in the front matter if you're trying to figure things out. Here's a good clue. Look at this. It's showing the newspapers in the area. Libraries. This was from 1911, so I'm still perusing through here trying to figure out what those districts are. I'm pretty sure they're the land districts, like the BLM, same as the BLM districts, but I'm going to see if I can figure it out. By the way, if you ever get lost as to what it is you think you're doing, you can always create like sticky notes on your computer screen and remind yourself of what your mission is, and that was to find out who is in the Madsen Family Photo in Laramie, Wyoming. And I think you can, I don't know, this is a new one. Screenshot, I don't know. Can I pop that out? Ah, there. So now I can, like, that's my reminder as to what I'm doing, right? That's absolutely my thing. So you can just, like, search, if you're on a Windows, you can search for sticky note and it will show you this little app that you can use. Anyway, back at it. So I figured out what this meant. So it was not all the way in the front matter. So I'm on image number 96. So if I go backwards, wait for it, I'm going to zoom out a little bit too. I'm going backwards to the front of this section, not the front of the entire book. Sometimes you just have to do a little super sleuthing, right? So I'm skipping backwards. I'm going to skip down here. Whoops, going the wrong way. I'm looking for the front matter for this section. And it's going to be right here, I think. Here we go. So it says, the following list contains names of landowners and taxpayers in Albany County. The valuation is of the tax authorities in 1910. So if we go back and we look at that image with Wolbol, that was the tax value of his land in 1910. Kind of cool, eh? So I'm going to add that information to my research notes. I'm going to make two entries actually, because this says 1911, but I'm also making a reference in 1910 for the tax value of his property. So I'm going to do two different, sourcing the same information here, but I'm going to make a 1910 and a 1911 entry in my research notes. Okay, here's what I wrote. So 1911 tax value, the cattle ranch was $21,580 according to the city directory. Now I'm going to put in a reference note here. I'm going to insert that. I went ahead and created it on Site Builder, and there it is. I don't need that extra space. And so now I have that, and that's page 96, right? And now what I did was I put look for tax records. I don't know if this 21,000 is the land value or the cattle value or both, because I imagine the cattle was taxable as well, but I don't know that for sure. So I put a note in here, and I always put my little notes in red that I, go look for this stuff. I'm not going to look for that today, but it's in there for future reference. Then the 1911 city directory shows Madsen Wolbol, and I wrote it exactly as it was written in here. And I'm saying I'm presuming that this is the land districts and acreage tax value. Again, I'm going to insert a footnote, and instead of writing a bid, which is what you would normally write if you were repeating a source citation, I'm not going to do that because I find that confusing, especially with research notes, because your research notes are constantly expanding. So as you can see, it's now on another page. And so a bid might be like referencing nothing, like referencing what? So I just repeat the same first source citation. Now, if you were doing a report professionally, you would use a second source citation if you've already repeated it. There's a second version of everything. Check out Elizabeth Shown Mill's website, Evidence Explained, and you'll see where there's first references and second references. For research notes, I always use first references, again, because these notes are constantly expanding as I'm adding stuff. What I am going to do in my research notes is I'm going to reference this page number, or image number 76 also, because this is where the explanation is of what these numbers mean. So I'm going to just make a quick reference for that as well. So here I'm going to say, see also image 76 for explanation. Explanation of information, I guess. I just put info. So what's interesting is that we were just working on this one, but this one is also from the same year, but it actually shows his street address in the image, which is way cool. That helps me out a little bit. So we have Madsen Wolbol here, and again, a slightly different valuation, I think by $5 or by $100 maybe. So what I'm going to do is take note of that information and move on. One of the things you always want to do, though, is take notice of other people with the same last name in the area. So it could be this guy's related. I do not know if Charles is part of the family. I've not seen that name before. Scrolling to the top of that page, it looks like, well, that could be an ad. So this is 1913-14, so page 186. So I'm going to make some quick modifications to the site builder that I had already done, just changing this to 1913-14, and I think that was page 186. Let me double check that. Yep, 186. So I'm going to grab that and add that as a source citation to my notes. I'm going to pause. So here I've added that, and I'm going to put a footnote in there. I'm going to paste that from my handy dandy site builder, and let's see. Oh, one of the things I wanted to mention was to save early, save often. We're constantly building these, and so just Control S, or just save frequently. So if we go back and we look at, I'm going to go to home. No, I'm going to go to, what is it? View. What started out to be about a page, maybe a page and a half of information, we're starting to get quite a bit of information here on the research notes. And so the research continues. I'm going to go back and continue putting information in about him. Remember, we're just a reminder, the whole purpose of this is we're trying to figure out who this guy is. And so we have to keep that focus in mind. But in order to do that, I'm trying to build out the family members, the siblings of both Laura and Christopher. And so these people that I'm building out, the men right now at least, I'm building these research notes for, are her siblings that are in the United States at the time this image was taken in approximately 1887. So research continues. I don't know why every time I stop a clip it cuts off my last word, but research continues. So what I was going to show you over here was that, really, I say research continues. I'm just making sure that all this information that I already had collected over the years is in my research notes. And this is the General Land Office. This is the BLM records that I was talking about. I'm not going to go through all of that again, but I'm just telling you that if you find this stuff, go look on the BLM or the GLO website and make sure that you see the actual records. I showed that earlier. And this gives you a lot of great information. Look, it even takes you straight to it. Oh, hot diggity dog. Look at that. See? So remember, just a few minutes ago, we were writing our research notes from a city directory in 1911, and it showed a bunch of sections. Well, look, this says section 14, and this is another reason why we take research notes, because in the city directory, there's section 14. So we know that all of these are section numbers, and we can go find them in there. I'm going to guess that this is a couple thousand acres is what that means. I do not know for sure, but this is why we keep research notes, is because it makes you pay attention to the details you never noticed before. All right, back at it. I'm going to go and look at all of these GLO records real quick and add them into my research notes if they aren't already, because this video is getting really long. Another thing I wanted to point out is date of issue. Pretty cool. So here, instead of being over here, I jumped over to the patent image, which I like to download these. These are pretty cool. And so this is, I know this is really hard to see. The website is a bit of a challenge. But anyway, so it says, it appears pursuant to the Act of Congress approved on the 20th of May, 1862, to secure homesteads to actual settlers on the public domain, and the acts of, I think that says supplemental there to the claim Madsen Wolbol. So what I want to do is I want to download this. I want to take a little bit of time to take a look at this because I can't really see it on the website that easily. But this to me is just way too much fun. So I'm going to download that, and I'm going to save it in his file. And I think I'm just going to leave it at that and hit save. And I'm going to study that a little bit. So in looking at this land patent, it is executed on the 25th day of February in 1890. So that's the date that I'm going to put in my research notes for this. And if we go up to the top, you can see that it says somewhere in here how much acreage it is. It is 160 acres. I would die to have that much land. This is why so many immigrants came to America in the late 1800s, was because they had the opportunity of land that they would not have had in the homeland. Well, as I'm going through these land grants, I found another one for him in the Wyoming Territory in 1883, which is kind of fun, for 40 acres, 1883. So I'm going to add that to the information as well. So one of the things that I noticed here was this says Carbon County, Wyoming Territory. Now remember, Wyoming didn't become a state until 1890. I think it was July of 1890, and this is 1883, so that's prior to statehood. So it's still a territory at the time. So I did a quick Google search about Carbon County to find out what's going on there, and it says in 1883 Carbon County was located in the southwest region of Wyoming, named for its large coal deposits. The Union Pacific Railroad opened up its first coal mine in Carbon County in 1868. In 1875, Wyoming's territory legislation created Johnston County, which was resulted in Carbon County losing some of its territory. So Wyoming Territory was incorporated into territory in the United States from 1868 until 1890, when it became a state of Wyoming. So Cheyenne was the territorial capital, which a lot of these patents said the Cheyenne, Wyoming Territory, as far as the land office goes. So it's fun. Gotta love this. So moving on to some of the bottom index information here about his immigration to the United States. This is the record that we saw on the other page, and we can click through and actually visit the site, see some of the records. We would have to then search again for the name, but I've already done that. But what's fun to do is, it says that he came across on the ship the Denmark. Well, for this website is not really that functional anymore, but there's still a lot of good images on here. So Norwegian Heritage has images of some of the ships. So I looked, so if we just go here and it says ships and I hit D for Denmark and then scroll down, I'm looking for information on the Denmark, and you can see all the years that it sailed. And what is this column right here? Norwegian departures, transatlantic voyages. And so we can see that, remember, he came across in 1871, and 1871 is listed here. And what's fun about this is you can learn a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into this, and we can see more information about it. So we can see some details about, see now, he traveled, I thought it said April, the registration date's the 20th of April 1871. And so anyway, sometimes you can find more information on this website. It doesn't have all ships for all things, and I don't know that it's still actively being updated, but it's still here, and there's still some really, really great information here. So that is norwegianheritage.com. So the information that I have in my notes says, whoops, please stand by. Let me get this back up. That he traveled first from Denmark. He probably went to Liverpool, but I'm not sure. And then the 20th of April, 1871, he departed for New York 2 days later on the ship, the Denmark. And then I have that information here. So then here, this one says May 1st was the departure date for 1871. So a couple of weeks off, I don't know. Arrival May 17th. If this is the same voyage, it might have been another voyage prior to this as they're coming and going. 75 immigrants embarked. And it said another 993 embarked in Copenhagen, of whom 350 were Swedes, the rest Danes. So it looks like this might have been the April voyage that I have information about. So it also gives you information about the ship and some cool stuff. So it's just a matter of taking a look. So you can actually purchase, or you used to be able to purchase, copies of the ship. I don't know if you can still do that. So if you download the file, it's going to come with the watermark on it. It used to be that you could purchase a copy of the ship without the watermark to help support the website. And so we've got a couple different images of the ship. Nice. So I downloaded a copy of the image, and as you can see, it's pretty grainy, and it's not available for purchase. I don't know what happened to the owner of this website or what's going on there, but it's still online. It's just every time I go to try and purchase a copy of an image, you can't do it anymore, but the images appear to still be there. So there is the ship that my Mads Hansen, Nielsen, all of those guys came over on. Still trying to figure that guy out, though. So I'm going to save this as the Denmark and put it in his file. So for those who are always curious about the filing system, I have place information, then surname folders for every surname in the family tree, and at the bottom, of course, is going to be Wolbol. And so I'm going to then have Wolbol. And if you were to look at this in a list format, it's actually easier to do, to find things sometimes. And so then I go to Mads, and then I would save this here as the ship that he came on. I'm also going to add this URL to my research notes. So remember, one of the things that I'm always talking about, here we are, Mads Nielsen Wolbol, is to look for immigration with an E, right? These are the records where they are leaving the country. They're leaving their homeland. And so there's more information to find as we're doing this, and you can see the registration date. And this means the ship, it doesn't mean that was the name of the ship. It means indirect, meaning that it was like a hop. He was hopping from one place to another, and he was probably hopping to Liverpool first before heading on. So I'm going to give this guy an actively researching tag just for grins and giggles. And so I've pretty much gotten through all of the sources that I already had in here. There is a hint right here that I want to go chase to see if there's anything here. So this is taking me to the 1900 census. Do I already have the 1900? No, I don't. All right, so let me explain. So in the 1900 census and some of the other censuses, you know, it will name the relationship of the person. And so when you are looking at this, this is actually evidence of marriage, even though it's not a marriage certificate, right? So it says marital status, 27 years. And so there we have information about the marriage and all the children listed here. Okay, I went and looked at that 1900 census and grabbed all this information off the top, created a source citation, and what I wanted to point out was, this is kind of cool, is that this information not only gives you the marriage information and where he's from, year of immigration, he's naturalized, but then he has a farm schedule. I realize these columns don't line up, but it tells me exactly where to go for the farm schedule. So if I wanted to go chase that down, I could if I want to learn more about his ranch. Okay, I had paused for quite a while, but I went and looked at this, and I went and always drilled into the image. I have added all of that information into my research notes here, including a border John Olsen, who was from Norway, in there, and so I forgot to attach it. So then I'm going back, and you can use the side panel here, but the estimated year of marriage is 1873. So I'm going to plug all that in, and I'm going to say next. Now I'm not clicking any of this information over here because I already had a lot of that information in here. Some of this is automatically populating because that's new information, which is fine. And if I check all this, as long as it is matching, that's fine. I can attach this to the people that are already in my tree. So this is new information. I'm going to go ahead and allow that. I want to make sure the names aren't changing though. See, this is okay. And we already have better information over here. That's fine. Nels is also in here in my tree already, so it's not new information. I'm not creating duplicates, so I'm going to hit save. So the next step is to figure out where the rest of these census records are for his entire lifetime. So the first one we have is 1850. That's fine. I had a note in my research notes that said he was missing from the 1860 census in Denmark. So somewhere along the line, I need to figure out the 1860, 1870, 1880. There's not going to be an 1890, but clearly he arrives in the United States in 1871, so he should be in the 1880 census somewhere. I think it's going to be in Nebraska because the information that I had from the book that was written about him said that he first went to Nebraska. I think it was Omaha, Nebraska. And so this was from this book that gave us a whole lot of information about him. So that I'm going to study a little bit more and see if I can tease that out. But long story short, I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here because the real goal was to figure out what men were in town when this image was taken. And I think we've pretty much established that he was. However, if we go and look at his birth year, let me get back over here. His birth year is 1841. So if we do a quick calculation and we go 1887 when we think this image was created, let's do this. Let's go, 1887, sorry. 1887 minus 1841, he would have been 46. So long story short, I don't think that the guy in this image is 41 years old. I think he's more like late 20s, maybe early 30s. So I think what I'm going to do is stop going down this rabbit hole for Mads. This is Laura's brother. See, here's Laura down here. She's the one in the photograph that we believe. So with that in mind, I have done a ton of research that is awesome. We've got a lot of information on him now, and his wonderful ranches and all kinds of stuff. So I think I can cross him off the list as a list of suspects. In fact, I probably should create a list of suspects over here. Now, the city directories we did look at, I want to go back and double check. I do have him here. We can cross that one off. And that was the census, by the way. So this was my little research plan. But so sometimes, you know, we find ourselves kind of going down a rabbit hole, which is fine because we have a ton of good information now about Mads Wolbol and his arrival into the United States. And one of the reasons why we do this is because we know that there's chain migration, and we know that in this grouping there's probably a bunch of people that came over either at the same time or within a year or two of each other. So one person would come over, establish a homestead, and then others would start to come. I see there's hints here too, so I'm going to stop the video at this point and let you guys take a breather because I know this one's a long one. So we'll continue the search for other men, for possible relatives that could be this guy.